Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me does every week from TheRinger.com is Dave Jacoby. Jacoby!
Verno, I'm excited about this show. There's a lot to get to, and there's a lot I know that has been bothering you. There's a lot that's bothering me. There's a lot to be celebrated. Let's get it.
Yeah, and I've gone through a bunch of games. This is a weird week for me because I went to a game in person on Monday for Martin Luther King Day with the Grizzlies and Minnesota. Then I saw them play against Charlotte on Wednesday night. Then they play tonight against the Pelicans. Then tomorrow night at home against the Jazz. It's 4 games in a very short amount of time.
Really games? Those are games you have to win.
I know.
The Pelicans are kind of hot now. The Pelicans are low-key hot right now.
I know. Actually, this one might actually be the fun one to go to tonight. But a bunch happened last night. Let's start with the Lakers smoking the Celtics. So are we going to give the Celtics a pass because they went to overtime against the Clippers, or did this have meaning?
This is, again, I've said it before on this pod, so I don't want to just repeat myself over and over again, but like this is habitual now. Over the last 2 months, the Celtics have been like a win one, lose one team, but we're all just penciling them in the NBA Finals like it's not a thing. Like, at what point are we going to actually question the Celtics? And everybody else says, oh, if they make threes, they win. If they miss threes, they lose. It's not that simple. It's really not. But they were missing threes last night.
You're not making your point the best regarding last night's game.
No,
they shot
no.
38% from the field and 33% from three. Meanwhile, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, and AD combined for 67.
Though, about their 34% from three. That includes 2 for 2 from Jaden Springer. So it's like it's really more like 29% from three. Let's be honest.
And then you had these performances off the bench for the Lakers. Dalton connect with 13, and the ghost of Gabe Vincent.
Yeah,
with a double-digit performance.
Wasn't he like 5 for 5 at some point? I was like, what? I think it was 4 for 4 from three. I was like, what year is this?
For one night, we got Miami Heat Gabe Vincent.
Exactly.
Who was
Gabe Vincent tore up the league in one playoffs.
I know, right? And so, anyways, it's a good win for the Lakers for sure. And look, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but it's one of those games that now, and they even, of course, used their time in front of the microphone. It was like, hey, we're good enough. You just saw what we did to the Celtics. We just need more. And if you give us a little more, then we're going to be able to beat anybody. You just saw what we did to Boston, right? Just help us out here, get a little more. So we're about to go into full on these last 2 weeks, the full court press from within with the Los Angeles Lakers for them to make moves, improve said team, because this is one of those proving ground games. I think if you're trying to make your case from within, and obviously LeBron and AD are both trying to do that,
LeBron,
it's one of those that can give you some hope.
Well, yeah, it is one of those that gives you hope, but I don't see any natural trade partners out there to sort of like put them over the hump. I don't think they're like a Vucevic away from, the Larry O'Brien trophy. But one thing I walked away from this game saying to myself is are the Boston Celtics just inventing white guys at this point? Like, who is Baylor Shireman? It's like,
he was like the last pick of the first round.
Who's this guy? And it's like coming out. I was like, so now they could in theory play Hauser, Pritchard, Shireman, Porzingis, and Cornette and be the funniest team in the league. And if any coach was going to do it, it would be Joe Maz. If any coach was going to finally do it, if any franchise, it would be the Celtics. And if any coach, it would be Joe Mazzulla. Just for the vibes.
Well, hey, don't let them find a Grizzly game on a random night, because they may see Conchar, Huff, Laravia, and Kennard coming right at him.
And Yuki, just for fun.
A couple other things that took place last night. Boy, I'll tell you this. If you are the number 1 seed, which it appears that the Thunder are going to be, certainly through the first half of the season, the last thing on earth, your nightmare, is the Mavs somehow dropping to 8. Because the Mavs truly have their number. Last night, in the absence of Luka Doncic, Spencer Dinwiddie is 11 of 14 from the field, has 28 points. PJ Washington has 19 rebounds. And look, you can't do the Thunder didn't have their guys. I mean, they didn't have Luka Doncic in this game.
Yeah.
And I saw it posted I saw this posted this morning. The Thunder in their last 50 games that they have played are 38-12. They're 2-7 against the Mavs. So that would make them 36-5 against everyone else that is not the Mavericks. And we just saw them recently. You know, the Mavericks hadn't won any other games, but a couple weeks ago they beat the Thunder 106-98. Like, if you look up and down their schedule, it's like Oklahoma City win, loss. Oklahoma City win,
loss.
It's hilarious. Like, I mean, sometimes other teams just have your number, and one of the things is it's low possession game. This is one of the things I've talked to you about, and this is true of those young teams that are at the top that want to play out in space. They want to force turnovers. They want to get up and down the court. And so how do you muck it up? How do you drag that into the mud? And a lot of times there's going to be these games where these potent offensive teams and really good teams like the Thunder, like Memphis, can look bad because you're playing so much dead ball basketball. And last night, one of the things I look at, I'm like, every time something like this happens, I go and I look at that free throw number. It's 58 combined free throws in this game. 58 free throws in the game. And so you are playing tons of dead ball basketball, and it makes young teams very uncomfortable to play it like that.
That's a good point. While I was watching this game, I wasn't considering pace as much as I was considering the Thunder offense, and I kept waiting for a run. Because I'm like, all right, it's the number one team in the West.
You can't. It's a whistle. That's the problem.
They're playing the Mavs without Luka Doncic. I'm like, there's an 8-0 run coming. There's a 12-0 run coming. This is going to be a close game. There is a run coming for the Thunder, and it just never came. And it had me
Jacoby,
wondering.
Runs happen when there are allowed to be consecutive possessions. And that's what I'm saying. Those runs never happen, and so you never get the juice up. You never get the crowd going, and young players are affected by this more. The veteran teams, and so you don't get to have that run because as soon as you make a 2, then you come down, make a 3, then the next possession, and now we're walking up and down the court.
Yeah. I think that those two things are related because what the Thunder want to do is they want to steal the ball from you, get out in transition and score, get the crowd excited, steal the ball from you again, get out in transition, someone hits a 3. Next thing you know, they're calling a timeout. Then they're dancing their way over to the bench. Oklahoma City's going crazy. And even though you're down by 8, it feels like you're up 6 because the inevitable is about to happen. And that just didn't happen last night. And I think that you astutely pointed to the amount of fouls and the sort of lack of rhythm and flow in the game. But for me, it's a point. And I'm not going to sit here, I don't want to be too critical of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I consider to be the best team in the National Basketball Association. But there is a part of me that's watching the game. And watching the game when SGA was out, J-Dub couldn't sort of carry the offense. And he played well last night. But my question for you is there aren't too many teams that have a true third scorer that's not some sort of Jordan Clarkson off the bench or sort of Malik Monk sort of a person. But they don't really have a third guy that can get their shot.
I mean, the idea is going to be Chet. Yeah,
but he's not there. You're not there.
I understand. Right. Well, the other thing, and Williams is a fantastic scorer in his own right, but it's a lot like some other players around the league where it's okay, but SGA creates for everybody. That's the thing. Not only does SGA create his own shot, he creates for everybody else. I mean, the usage rate is really high. I mean, he makes that whole thing go. And so in the absence of him, you have to have somebody else. There's a lot of guys that are not going to create their own shots, right? Those shots are created for them because they're playing.
It's hard to do against an NBA defense, to be fair. This is an elite skill. You have to be a true-born scorer to do.
And they're playing, but they're playing off of this one guy, right?
Yeah.
In the same way that many teams, rightfully so, play off their best player.
It is weird. It's one of those Hawks Celtics things where it's just like, for whatever reason, this matchup doesn't work, and let's put a pin in that. And just, if you're a fan of the Thunder, you just hope you don't see the Mavericks in the playoffs. Yep. Because PJ Washington is 7-1 against the Thunder as a Maverick.
That's crazy. And you can't just say like that's an anomaly. Like, because the guy, he stood in the court and like folded his arms against him, and he's had like huge games, right?
Somewhere
19
like
rebounds.
PJ Washington's hanging out with his homeboys. His homeboys like, wow, the Thunder are the best team in basketball. He just sits back like, I haven't seen it. I've seen it on screen. I haven't seen it myself. I'm 7-1 in my last 8 against these guys.
Jokic, just an absolutely insane night. Obviously, though there was other stuff going on in the NBA, it was, outside of a dunk, easily the most passed around highlight that I can remember this year. I mean, I had that texted to me 4 times.
Oh yeah.
Last
and
night.
if you haven't seen it, we'll play the clip.
Jokic going to throw it up from way. Got it! Oh my! Nikola Jokic! All the way from Sombor!
Did you see him after the game?
Yes, of course I did.
What was running through your mind? He said, I knew it was going in.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because we also have some sound from him after the game. We'll get to his performance, but here's what he said after the game. It's hilarious.
I bet a lot of these Nuggets fans in here voted for you to make it there. What do you have to say to them?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for sending me and making me not having rest. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So that's about the Nuggets fans sending him to the All-Star game, right? He just won a big game, hit a 3/4 court shot. You heard about that. He says, I knew it was going in. And they're like, yeah, these Nuggets fans, they voted for you. You're an All-Star this year. He's like, thank you for not letting me get rest. He doesn't want to be an All-Star. I love Nikola Jokic so much. He has no interest in being an All-Star whatsoever. I don't even think he knows where his MVP trophies are right now at all. He's just like, I would rather have the time off, but thank you, I guess, for voting me into being an All-Star.
And I'm going to tell you something wild. Look this up while we're on the air, because if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago when I went to the All-Star game, I think it was Utah when it was in Salt Lake City. One of my buddies went to this like nice restaurant one of the nights, and he said he gets sat at this table, and there is it's got to be the All-Star game, and there's like this crazy loud music that he cannot understand a word to. Like, can't understand a word to. And he's like, what in the hell? Like, this guy's like eating dinner. And they open up the door, and it's like a private room. And it's Jokic and like all his family and all these people. And they're blaring this like music from his home country.
Serbian folk music.
And it's his, and they're celebrating his birthday. And that's why I said, look it up. When is his birthday, like right around All-Star? It's got to be.
You wanted me to look this up? I thought you wanted the audience to look this up.
No, dude.
I didn't know you're giving me homework. I don't want to do any work.
Wait, you can't. Yeah, all right, hold on. Let me see when Jokic's birthday is.
What are you talking about?
It's got,
look this up while I fill time.
February 19th. It is All-Star.
Perfect.
So not only does he not want to go do all the pomp and circumstance of All-Star, it's literally his birthday every year.
That's great.
I guess, you know what? All-Star weekend will be over by the 17th or by the 16th. So he'll actually get to celebrate
his birthday. But still, he has no interest in going to All-Star weekend whatsoever.
None. He will leave straight from San Francisco home.
Yeah.
And I mean to a different country.
No. He doesn't have that much time. He doesn't have that much time.
For his birthday.
Huge night, though. I mean, 35, 22, and 17. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
All right. Oh, crazy. Absolutely crazy. And so I'm reading an article. By the way, that 32, 22, and 17, only Wilt Chamberlain has ever had a 35, 20, 15 game.
I mean, it's always Wilt. It's always Wilt.
Right. It's always Wilt. But just for point of reference, he's the only player that's ever done that. I mean, those stats, that's how insane those stats are. And we do kind of take it for granted.
I mean, 35 and 17. Let's say all those 17 assists for 2-pointers. That gets you to like 69 points. And let's say 5 of those were threes. That gets you over 70 points. Just you yourself contributed to it.
So I'm reading an article this morning, and it says
What?
that his shot was 80 feet. Said he hit an 80-footer last
I think
night.
it's listed at like 66 for some reason. I don't know why. But that
So
that was long.
The article I read said 80, and that it was the 6th longest shot in NBA history.
So
we'd
a lot
have
of
to
those go off the backboard. You know what I mean? Like that was just a swish. That was in.
So here's a little trivia. Who is recorded as having the longest shot in NBA history?
Well, I mean, there's no like physical attributes or sort of something in someone's bag that makes them good at this. So I'm just guessing random players. So I need like a little bit of a hint, like something, a year, a team,
Okay,
a facial.
Early 2000s Hornet.
Larry Johnson. Del Curry.
Baron Davis.
Oh, I love it. God, I love Baron Davis.
Baron Davis has a recorded 89-footer that he made. So people can go find that one on YouTube. That is the longest shot in NBA history. It, of course, made me go look this up because I was like, the 6th longest? I was like, that thing was far. So Baron Davis, Norm Van Leer hit an 84-footer. Magic Johnson, 84. LeBron James, 83. Herb Williams, 81. And then they say the Jokic one.
Quick Baron Davis story. We did an interview with him or whatever, and we ended up going to like a basketball court to shoot around in Los Angeles. And anyone who lives around Los Angeles or knows Baron at all, like he's outside. Like he's a very available human being to interact with. Like he's around.
He's out with Draymond all the time now.
All the time. Yeah, he's a co-host in that show. But there's that one thing that basketball players do, really good ones, where you know that you fake a shot, but you roll the ball on the back of your hand and then pull it back.
Oh, yeah.
You know that little trick? I can't do it. I don't have that in my tool set. Baron Davis is so good at that. They were just shooting around, and multiple times he would go to shoot, and then I would turn to look at the basket, and then I would have to turn back 2 seconds later. He'd just be laughing at me with the ball at his side. There's no one better at the fake shot, roll it over your hand, and then pull it back. I'm surprised he doesn't have like 15 highlights in the league doing this because it is so effective. He's fantastic at that. He's a great hang, too, by the way. Shout out to Baron Davis.
Other things that happened last night, Warriors smacked the Bulls. The Bulls are just cratering Jacoby. And so, I mean, they're now 19-26. They've lost 6 of 7. And the only one that they won in that stretch was when the Clippers started Chris Dunn and Mo Bamba on a random night. They were without their guys. So, look, the reason that they are significant is not only the Levine thing and like, hey, are they going to choose a direction to go, even though they've said we want to be competitive and we want to win games? Are they going to choose a direction to go in the next couple of weeks? What happens with Levine, whose name is always thrown around? But the reason that they are significant is because they are literally the only thing that stands in the way of Philly having a crack.
That's what I was about to say.
Play-in. So, and unbelievably, Philly has lost 7 games in a row and plays Cleveland tonight, and they're still just 2.5 games back from 10. And
somewhere the Bulls are like, hey, Philly, win a fucking game so we can get into the 11th seed.
This is crazy. I know the Bulls could but if the Bulls just had not been trash over the course of these last 7 games, they could have really stretched out a lead against Philly because Philly never wins.
Philly wants nothing more than just to be the 7th seed or the 8th seed, come out of the plane and make a run like they did last year. They made a run at the Knicks. The Bulls want nothing more than to just bottom out. And these two cannot get on the same page. They do. What else are they doing? The Bulls have been like the sort of the poster child franchise of where you don't want to be in the National Basketball Association as a franchise. You do not want to perpetually be between 7 and 10 year after year after year. You want to be like the Spurs, where you're like, we're competing, we're good, we're not good enough to make a run for the playoffs, but we're building something for the futures. We're gradually getting better year after year. The Bulls are just stuck. right in the middle of the Eastern Conference year after year after year.
And it's not bad players. It's like a collection of guys that when you look at them, you're like, they could help them. They could help them. They could help them. Right? Like they're not. It's not.
But they can't help each other.
I got it, but it's not a bunch of bad players. It's odd.
No.
But yeah,
Levine has been like wildly efficient this year too.
Yeah, but like, where are they going? Like they're not
nowhere.
Right.
I can't see. There are teams in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference playing that I could say to myself, that's a tough out. Like that's a tough out. The Bulls are not one of those teams.
Right.
The Bulls are not one of those teams.
I mean, they do have one guy that on a random night could drop 42 on you. You
Kobe
know,
White?
that's always a scare. Stop.
Io?
Levine is fantastic. He's a fantastic player.
I do like Levine.
You know what I mean? And he could help somebody. He could.
I want to see him in a new environment.
He could change things.
I want to see him in a new environment. I just want to see it.
Very well may get it. We have the All-Stars got announced yesterday. We have the starters are Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, SGA, and Steph. In the East, Giannis, Tatum, Kat, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson. So you got two All-Star starters with your Knicks.
I know.
You see that coming?
Not really. I mean, I think some of the fan voting with LaMelo kind of threw us all off the scent, but I think once the media and the coaches get involved, LaMelo gets bumped down to the bench. And I'm
always interested in the gap between media and players, like where those gaps exist in terms of the voting. I was very interested by this. LaMelo was 3rd in player voting, 7th in media voting.
Interesting.
Yeah. The media had Wemby and AD as the starters in the West instead of LeBron and Durant. So we know the media loves Wemby, and we know they hate LaMelo.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And then that kind of tracks with what you thought going in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The media loves Wemby. The media hates LaMelo. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, and the media outside of that, I was kind of surprised AD is one of the starters for the media. But really, there's not huge differences between the player voting, the fan voting, and the media voting. Really, LaMelo is the one.
I think LaMelo, you could make an argument that Wemby should be a starter in the West, but what are you going to take out KD?
Right.
He's KD.
But there's a big gap between LaMelo and player and fan, or I guess really media voting. Media voting destroyed LaMelo.
Yeah. You know, we all know the demographics of the media and the demographics of the fans.
Also, one that I noticed on there, players lower on Franz Wagner than the media. Media loves Franz Wagner, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they love Franz.
Oh, we're going to get to old Franz, who made his return last evening.
Oh, it was triumphant.
It was trying something.
All right. We got to get to the team and players and things that we loved and loathed from the week that was in the NBA. You want to start or you want me to?
I want you to, because you got to sell me on this one.
Team that I loved. Okay, so look, we do this show every week. We do this episode.
Can't be the Cavs every week.
Every Friday from the week that was. And so when I get the opportunity to highlight someone, I've got to take that opportunity because it's probably going to be the only time. And that opportunity is now for the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
Who Sunday beat the Bulls, Tuesday won at Miami, and then Thursday, last night, not only did they win at the Magic, they beat them down 101-79, ruining the Franz Wagner return. I cannot believe, I mean, I would have bet my life they would have lost to Miami and Orlando. Like, this is...
Orlando? Orlando?
Yeah, this is like... And of course, you know, we had the Scoot story last week where it's like, hey, now, watch out. Scoot might be coming along. He's back to the bench. But, I mean, this is just a group of guys that are not part of the long-term future for the Portland Trailblazers. But every once in a while, you are going to see, especially leading into what is a stressful last 3 weeks, or 2 weeks for that matter, 2.5 weeks for these guys, where it's like, hey, if I play super well, they're going to get me up out of here.
Yeah.
And so you look, and they, again, kind of like the Bulls, they've got players, right? You don't look at their team and go, well, there's a bunch of guys on that team that can't help anybody. In fact, I look at their team and go, Anthony Simons could help someone, and Rob Williams could help someone, and Jeremy Grant could help someone, and Denny Avdija could help someone, Avdia could help someone, and and obviously the future is going to be like Klingon, Sharp, Henderson, building out around that and whatever else. But like the vets that are on their team, you look up and down and it's like, on a given night. And so maybe they're just rallying together for a couple of weeks. They're not just they're still competing. And hopefully, I think for most of them, they're hoping that their name gets called within the next couple of weeks, that they can go to different situations.
Yeah, I'm sure that if you are one of the trade chips there, when your agent's number pops up on the phone, you're not upset about it. You're not too concerned. And I'll push back a little bit about the Anthony Simons thing, because I don't know what team that has like competitive aspirations is like really looking for a shoot first point guard.
No. Simons is best cast as that guy that comes off your bench, fills it up, and flips the game for you.
Yes.
That guy could get a bucket for you now. And
but he's lead the second team. Your second team literally has no one that can do things with a basketball, so you put Simon in that role.
No, that Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, that's what he should be. He should be somebody's Lou Williams, someone's Eddie House, someone's
Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, he should be that for someone, and he could help a lot of teams doing that.
Yeah, I think so too. Like there are teams that could use a point guard, but not the Anthony Simons type of point guard, because he's
not starting for a good team.
No. Or if he is, we're gonna have to sit down in the office and have some chats about your role in the offense. Right. If he's gonna be starting for a good team. But I think that you did a good job by celebrating Portland, because there's not gonna be a lot of opportunity. Team that I love this week, and this is also an anti-Sixers take as well, because the Bucks and the Sixers once upon a time were grouped together as these teams with championship aspirations that were absolutely faltering out of the gate to start the season. And they have since been on very divergent paths. And quietly, the Bucks are 8-1 in their last 9. They're a game and a half behind the Knicks for the 3 seed. Like, they're a week away from being in the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And in particular, they had a really wacky week since we last spoke. They were down in New Orleans, and anyone who hasn't been paying attention, the weather in the South, it's been snowing. It's snowing in Florida. Verno's kids were snowed in from school last week. Like, there's this wacky weather going on all over the place. And the Bucks got stuck in a hotel for 3 days in New Orleans. They fly back because they have a game at home against the Heat. They land at 5 p.m. for like a 7 o'clock tip. They have to move the tip of the game an hour. And I'm watching the start of this game. Bucks look flat. They look like a team that just got off a plane. And they look like a team that hasn't touched a basketball in 3 days. There's no chance they're winning this game. Like, none. Like, it was just, the Heat were kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing? like you guys just aren't going to try? The Heat jump out to this early lead and everything's going well. I stopped watching the game. But I'm looking at my app on the phone. Well, the Bucks are making it a little bit closer. Let me tune back into that game. The second half, they were a different team. And I will say that when they brought on Taurean Prince and Gary Trent Jr., I said to myself, oh, look at that. We got some shooting. Because Brook Lopez can't be your sort of sole three-point threat outside of Dame Lillard. And I thought those were really good pickups, and they did not pan out. However, I know Prince had a high, 3-point percentage early this season. Gary Trent Jr. stepped up last night. Like,
Prince was leading the NBA in 3-point percentage.
I know, but he has since come back to earth. And I will just say that they had no Middleton. They had no AJ Green. They had just gotten off a plane. This was a loss. This was a loss. Before the tip, this was a Milwaukee Bucks loss. But they turned this game around against a Heat team, without Jimmy Butler, and we all know that story. But I was really impressed with this Bucks team of late. I've been really impressed with them, specifically last night. And we all talk about SGA and Jokic like they're the only two MVP candidates. But Giannis is averaging 31, 12, and 6, which is better than his MVP season.
Oh, so now you're going to throw Giannis into the MVP mix again?
It's just worth mentioning.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. It's worth mentioning.
Okay.
It's worth mentioning.
Because they beat
player.
Okay. Look, they have been on a really good streak. Lillard and Giannis simultaneously both being good on a regular basis is something that other teams should fear.
I would say that the Bucks were a head-scratching team earlier in the season. They make a lot of sense now. However, the Sixers, I've scratched my head so much I'm losing my hair.
Team that I loathe this week. What the hell, Orlando? Seriously. I mean, you got your guys back. Now, I'm going to make a little bit of an excuse for them.
No. It's the team you loathe. Verno.
No, I loathe them. Don't make no mistake about it. Look, look. Go look at their chart. Loss. Not only that, it's not just it's not like you're losing 108, 106. You're getting your ass kicked every night. And you got your ass kicked by Portland
last night.
They had one of the lowest scoring games. I think the third lowest scoring game of the entire season. 79 points last night. Right? Yeah, and got run out by Portland on their home court, no less. And this is coming off of losing by 16 to Toronto. I can excuse losing to Milwaukee, at Boston, Denver. But then you ended up, now you got to get back on track against Toronto and against Portland.
The Blazers, yeah.
And not only did you lose both those games, you lost both those games decisively. Now, the only thing I will say is I get it. It's hard always to function one way, then bring back guys, then bring back another guy, and whatever else. I will also say that I had never covered a guy that I knew of that had an oblique injury, and until this year when Desmond Bane had his. It took Desmond Bane a long time to become Desmond Bane again. I don't know what all goes into that injury. He came back and was still not himself for 3 to 4 weeks. And so I do wonder if that is going to be the case. Like you saw, but that is not Paolo Banchero. Like him, he's 1 for 14. I mean, bro, come on.
Ridiculous.
That's
the problem
crazy.
With Banchero is that first game back, he had 34 and looked like he picked up where he left off. And I said to myself, here come the magic. Yep. Paolo's back. Paolo's at the rate that he started the season, he started his post-injury season, and I was so excited for the impact that he was going to have. It felt like the Magic had finally weathered the storm. The cavalry was coming, and they're going to make their run up the Eastern Conference standings. And instead, Paolo goes, 1 for 14, and he's disappeared since that first game back. You get Franz back, doesn't make a difference. Even the defense wasn't there.
No, they need
the defense
Suggs
never
back.
leaves.
They need Suggs back for sure.
But obviously. I thought they needed Paolo back. And then I thought they needed Franz back.
For sure.
Now they need Suggs back? Like,
I will
what's
say,
happening?
I will say, I think we talked about this earlier in the year. When you look up and down both conferences, and I tell you, like, who is playing much better than you thought they were going to be playing, right? And so inevitably you're going to say Houston, and you're going to say the Clippers. You're going to say the Clippers, and you're going to say Houston. Orlando was certainly in that mix. They were one of the teams that were like, hey, now,
Cavs. I mean,
for sure. Yeah. We've got to look at them much differently. And what those teams have in common is that they were elite defensively. They've been like in the top 5. They've been in the top 10 in defense this year. And so like most importantly, we would say with Houston and the Clippers and with Orlando, right? We were saying if you go and dive in, these teams are winning, and they're winning at the rate they're winning because of their defense, because they have an elite level defense. And this can win you a lot of regular season basketball games.
Yes.
But when you get to the playoffs, and now a team is going to take away not your 2 favorite things to do, but your 3 favorite things to do. And now you're going to have to figure out how you're going to score. If you are offensively deficient, then that's going to show up in the playoffs. I also think that part of it is what's happening, especially if you're not going to get a great Paolo, is that as the year goes on, the first half of the season, I think you can stack up a ton of wins just by bringing your defense every single night.
Mm-hmm.
But as the year goes on, you've got to be reasonable offensively, because I think that at the start there's a long stretch of time where most teams aren't defending hard every single night. And so you can hang your hat on the defensive end and you can pick up a bunch of wins just by having a good game plan and being active and defending. But the longer it goes, and then especially when it gets into the playoffs, you've got to have an offense. And because it's a lot harder to stay focused. It's harder to stay focused right now. This is always a malaise. And you see weird stuff happen as we start hurtling towards the trade deadline and the All-Star break. This happens every year. And then when you come back from the All-Star break, now, boy, it is hard to maintain that defensive intensity over the course of 82 games. And so the Orlando Magic, they better find a way to put the ball in the basket at a reasonable rate, because otherwise you just put so much pressure on having to be awesome defensively every night.
Well, I'm looking at their schedule quickly to see what they've got coming up. They've got the Blazers. They've got some winnable games. Blazers, Heat, and Pistons. Pistons, Heat, Blazers coming up. That should be some wins.
Yeah.
And then the Jazz, then the Warriors, then they hit a tough stretch. But
don't you dare mark a win against the Pistons. That ain't the way that goes.
Oh
now.
No.
You got to watch out against it.
Not anymore. I mean, I really feel like I got okey doked by that first game back from Paolo.
They're in
that
seventh
is my
place
problem
right now. Do you know they're in 7th?
Yeah. And above them, the Pistons and the Pacers. We have the top 4 in the East, we know. But the Pistons and the Pacers are playing better basketball than the Magic right now.
For sure.
So they're not in a 7 where I can see them going into 6 and 5 pretty easily.
Right.
They're going to have to change something. And I thought their offensive woes were solved with KCP shooting and Paolo and Franz sort of upgrading their offensive output, which is where we were. But hopefully, because we're Magic supporters here, this is a low point in the season right now.
It's just strange because, I mean, they were winning games with Goga Batazzi, Cole Anthony, and Tristan Da Silva.
Do you remember the NBA Cup game to go to Vegas against Milwaukee? I mean, they didn't have any. They didn't have Franz. They didn't have Paolo. We all thought this was a big disappointment. They were toe to toe with the Bucks.
Well, they still had Suggs.
Yeah, he got hurt in that one too. All right, team that I loathed. Team I just mentioned, and they were 8-1 heading into yesterday. And oddly, the team I loathe this week is the Indiana Pacers.
What?
Now, why would I loathe the team that is playing so well? I'll tell you why. Because do you know what the NBA did? The NBA threw on a beret. They got in a first-class flight to Paris, Zoutalor. I don't speak French that much anymore.
I can
Je
tell.
veux un billet à Paris. Croissant. Crêpe.
Sounds like you're hawking a loogie.
But they went to Paris, and I was so excited for the Pacers to beat the Spurs in this exhibition game, which is a trip to Paris to watch Wemby dominate. And I said, you know what? The Pacers are going out there. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA, and they're going to ruin the party. They're going to play the spoiler. They're going to play tough defense. They're going to show the Parisians that this is not just an exhibition for Victor Wembanyama, but that is exactly what it was in the second half. I was watching this game out and about. I was watching on my phone because I was like, it's 2:00 in New York City, so I've got stuff to do. And the first half was pretty tight. It was pretty good, and I felt pretty good about the Pacers winning the game. I was like, you know what? Good. Like, let's. I felt a little like patriotism about it. I was like, let's not make this the Washington Generals to the Harlem Globetrotters that are the Spurs.
The Wemby
Paris.
Invitational?
Yeah, like that's what it felt like. And I was like, you know what? The Spurs are going to put up a fight. They did not put up a fight whatsoever.
Look. Nobody loves the globalization of the game more than Adam Silver. What if I posited to you that they understood the assignment?
No. I think this is a team that was enjoying their time in Paris. They're like, oh, free trip to Paris. Maybe we'll split.
I think you're right.
But I'm going to explop the town.
Hey. Let me.
Croisième arrondissement.
I saw a clip of Joakim Noah. I can't. Forgive me.
Oh, he's out there.
I don't remember what podcast it was, so forgive me. But I would say they were asking him about going to different countries for
I think his dad, Yannick Noah, is French. Am I wrong? Yeah, I think he's French. Yeah.
But he was talking about how they were saying, where would you want to go if you were an NBA player? And he said, we got to go. He said, we went to Rio and we get there to like flamenco or whatever. We're going to Brazil. And he goes, and we're going to do it. And he goes, and effing Tibbs makes us practice when we got off the plane. He goes, I'm still mad at him. Like he didn't let him go and enjoy Brazil at all. He made him practice after the flight to Brazil. He's like, I'm telling you,
one of my favorite stories from the Olympics in Brazil was the USA basketball team. Like a few of the gentlemen, I can't name names because I don't remember exactly who they were, but I know Boogie Cousins was one of them. They went to an establishment in which I think you change into robes and like go to a bar. It was there's like some cell phone footage of like Boogie Cousins like in a robe. And again, like you have to Google this and fact check it. I'm not a journalist, but like at some point I was like, did you really think that you could just like walk in like a normal person when you're 7 feet tall? You know what I mean? Like you think they have a robe your size? You can just lounge around at the bar and just like look at what's offered up in a robe and no one notice. Team USA. God. But yeah, I wanted the Pacers to do more, but it was a great performance from Wembanyama. And I've been very critical of Wembanyama, but the off the backboard dunk.
Oh my God.
There was
his highlights
blocks,
are crazy.
They're stupid. There's one play in particular that I absolutely loved, and it was he got a block and he dribbled it up. I think he kicked to Champagny. And the defense gravitates towards Champagny. Champagny kicks to Wemby. And he's got the opportunity to shoot a three. It's like a step from behind the line, and he's got plenty of space and time to shoot. But he doesn't. He up fakes because he's got two guys on him now, and they're so scared that he's going to shoot the three that they both fall for the up fake. He takes one dribble towards the basket. The defense collapses, and then he kicks out to Champagny for an open three. And that, to me, was like a really good microcosm of sort of the next step in the evolution of Wembanyama's game. He's established that he can shoot from three. He's got everyone scared to score on him around the rim, but he's now sort of establishing some counters. The up fake and drive and kick is something that I was like, oh, look at that. Like people are going to start closing you out from three. Take advantage of that. And I thought that play off a block by him, by the way, was a really good microcosm of his evolution since just a few months ago.
Player that I loved this week. I mean, look, this was cinched by the time we did the Tuesday show.
I know.
If Cade Cunningham is going to dunk on the Houston Rockets and then turn to them and say, on all you MFers, like I didn't even care what he was going to
on Tuesday.
I don't even care what he did the rest of the week, but he backed it up by winning another one. He backed it up. I mean, I get it. He had 10 turnovers in the game, but he had 11.
9.
He had 11. He had 11 assists in the game too, though. And
Did
now
they add an extra turnover after the game? Did they review the tape?
Yes, I guess so. Look, Cade Cunningham is now leading a team after they had the Houston win. Then they went at Atlanta, not a place for great performances from young players typically.
Well, especially perimeter guys with Tyson Daniels out there.
I was talking about the nightlife, but nevertheless, 12 for 19, 29 points, 11 assists. Yes, he had the 10 turnovers, but he's got the ball in his hand. He had 20 turnovers this week and still is my favorite player.
yeah.
He is my favorite player this week. Look, he's going to make the All-Star team this year, and more importantly, he has broken into a different level of player. He has been a great breakout player this year. Certainly will run away with that most improved goofy trophy they give out, I'm sure. But don't look now. As you mentioned when we were talking about Orlando, Detroit's in 6th place.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, it's Cade and then it's everybody else. So when you are able to, and he carries the mail every night.
Yeah.
Every night. I love him. I do. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, I there's a weird sympathy I feel for number 1 picks because of all the expectations that come with it. I think you're much better off being a number 2 pick. And I think Cade's first sort of 2 or 3 years in the league, disappointing is too strong of a word to use, but not the sort of franchise altering power balance of the Eastern Conference altering impact that you would like a celebrated number 1 pick to have. And I think that it's just been delayed. I think his development and the team around him and the coaches coaching him has changed so much that this seems to be stabilized this season. He seems to be sort of self-actualized as a basketball player. He's absolutely dominant. It's gone from is he an all-star to is he all-NBA in 2 weeks.
Well, I think even Pistons fans have changed their opinion on whether or not when we have these drafts and we deem guys, we say that guy could be a franchise-changing player.
Yep.
I think we had already decided that Cade Cunningham is not a franchise-changing player. He's not that level. But he is.
He's not? I was about to say, who said he wasn't?
No, I'm saying up until this year.
Oh, sure.
I think people had decided, hey, look, he's great. He might end up having a really good career, but he's not franchise altering.
Well, there's guys you hear. It's the guys you hear about 2 years out. You know what I mean? Like the I can't say his last name. AJ Desayumo. How do you say that? I don't know. DeBansta. That's right. Yeah, sorry.
That's right.
You hear about guys 2 years out. Those are the guys that pop. And Cade, we were hearing about 2 years out, 3 years out. Cooper Flag, you hear about 2 years out, 3 years out.
Well, and I think we're also I think with Cunningham, you look around and I say guys that we previously deemed they're not franchise altering, but Cade Cunningham is franchise altering, and De'Aaron Fox was, but we had already decided he wasn't. And Jalen Brunson, no one in the free world thought he was franchise altering, but he is. And those are all point guards. It's taken a little bit of time.
Take some time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know what I mean? It might be year 4, 5, or 6.
You celebrated the Blazers this week, and there's some Blazers fans out there waiting for Scoot's turn.
You ain't lying.
There's some Blazers fans out there being like, what was it, Cade's year 4? Is that what we got?
Yeah.
Is that what we're waiting for? Year 4?
Man, I don't want to wait 4 years.
Watching Wemby in Paris throw the ball at the backboard and dunk.
I know.
And Scoot can't even play 20 minutes a game. The player I loved, I'm going to pick up the pace here. Kel'el Ware. How do the Heat keep doing this?
Losing?
Just finding guys.
Why didn't you just go ahead and highlight Mark Williams too?
He's the 15th pick in the draft.
I got
from Indiana. He's the last 3 games he's had 25, 20, and 22.
Are any of those wins?
Every time he's played 20 minutes, which is 5 times, he's had 20 points 4 of the 5 times. And I was watching this game last night. He's a 7-footer. He's skinny. He rim protects. He moves. He rebounds a little bit. But he was hitting threes. In the last 2 games, he was 2 for 6 and 2 for 7. Not great. But he's had, in his very short time, he's had a 3 for 3 game from 3, a 3 for 4 game from 3, and a 2 for 3 game from 3 in his very short career. And Kel'el Ware, he could be a guy that could have a real impact for this Heat team, which is definitely getting younger and definitely sort of changing their timeline. And Kel'el Ware could be a part of it. That's what I'm celebrating.
I thought that was a hit. I actually talked about Ware coming into the draft as he was. I thought that what we saw by the Mavs making the NBA Finals was that this archetype of the lively.
He has been compared to Lively a lot.
Yeah, well, because he was the only thing that was close. You had some of these other guys, like at the very top, you had the Klingons and the Eddies and whatever. But if you were looking for that rim running, big, athletic, fly up and down the court, catch lobs kind of guy, who was also, by the way, a disappointment in college early, came on last year at Indiana, but still not like crazy. And then also a massive like McDonald's All-American, five-star, right? Like those guys
7 footer that can shoot.
I mean, they've been previously bet on at very good rates before.
James Wiseman could shoot.
and I'll tell you this, and I have the weirdest Khalil Ware experience because I ended up becoming super high on him and talking about him a lot last year leading into the draft. And it was because I was going to watch a Caitlin Clark game and Indiana, Michigan State was on like right before it. So I just ended up watching Indiana and Michigan, and I just happened to see like literally the greatest game he's ever played. In his life.
Yeah, so as far as you're concerned,
yes. So I was watching the game. I'm like, Jesus Christ, who is this guy?
7 feet and rebounds like a shots in threes.
Why is he not projected to? This draft stinks. Why is he not supposed to go in the top 10? You telling me there's 10 guys better than this guy? Like,
well, in terms of player development, if you're in OKC or if you're in Miami, you're going to get a shot. You're going to get a shot. They'll get the best out of you. And I feel really good from what I saw from Ware this week. And he just started.
Well, this is perfect because the guy I loathe is a teammate of Khalil Ware's.
Is he?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler. Okay, like I got it. I'm not even going to talk about him getting suspended for missing the team flight. That's obviously ridiculous. What I'm going to talk about is sending out your guys, first Chris Haynes, and now Mark Spears, who is doing reporting, and he's on ESPN. And here's what he has to say about Jimmy Butler yesterday on their NBA Today show.
I was told today from someone close to the situation that his wish list is just out of Miami. With exception to Memphis. That it doesn't want to go to Memphis.
That's not just out of Miami.
That's developing.
Yeah, that's like when people say, what do you want for your birthday? Oh, anything, but here's my 3-page list of the actual
But he does want to finish his career wherever he goes. That's the key.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. I remember when he told me he wanted to finish his career in Miami.
Anywhere but Memphis.
What the hell?
Anywhere but Memphis is the 3 seed in the Western Conference. He'd rather play for the Wizards than the Grizzlies. He'd rather play for the Pelicans than the Grizzlies. He would rather be on.
Look, I'm not going to go
the
through
Raptors.
This. I'm not going to go through this massive defense of Memphis and that you could win and you might be able to win a title. I'm not going to go through all of that and tell you all the reasons I love Memphis or whatever else. I will just say it's mega disappointing because Jimmy Butler has always been one of those guys that people would love here.
Oh, yeah.
He's cut from that cloth. What they respect is that kind of guy that's tough, that guy that plays hard, that guy. I mean, they've made a focus. I'm going to watch Tony Allen's jersey hanging in the rafters later this year. But he is the archetype of everything that would be appreciated the most and would have a chance at winning a title. Like, you might be the piece.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You might be the piece that could end up winning a title. Oh, by the way, something that you have not done.
With this team. Like, this team plus Jimmy Butler minus whatever, Marcus Smart and whoever else has got to go in the deal.
Right.
That way, that's a championship contending team.
It's just bullshit to be always leaking out. Like, I'll go anywhere except there.
So here's my question.
And I'm not going to take it as a here's the thing.
Why would he not take Charlotte off the list? Why would he not take Brooklyn off the list? Why would he not take the Pelicans off the list? Why aren't the Warriors off the list? Why aren't the Blazers off the list?
I'm glad you're bringing this
Why
up.
the Grizzlies is the one team that's off the list?
I'm glad you're bringing this up. The reason I am not going crazy about this, because, I mean, look, in the end, F you, right? If you don't want to be, you be wherever you want to be. You're too good for it. But the reason I'm not going so crazy about it is because my experience has been this. If something like this happens and it feels like targeted, like why? Like, as you said, why?
Why Memphis?
Because there must have been those conversations that it became a reality. And that's why you have Haynes first. So it became a reality that it like, hey, this might could happen to Memphis. This might could happen to Milwaukee. Could you remember those were two of the first ones? Memphis and Milwaukee. By the way, both who have chances to win a title. If no. As places he didn't want to go.
Oh,
Memphis and Milwaukee was first. And now it's Memphis. And so that's what I've got to believe. Then you met with the,
But I can understand Milwaukee because of the playoff series and the sort of like hatred there, I guess. Like rivalry thing.
The reason he's saying Memphis because he doesn't want to be there, and it's probably the best deal on the table that they've gotten. And so then they talked to him a couple of different times and been like, look, bro, you could be an asshole, but you want out. And this is like, we have to do what's best for our franchise too. And we think this is the best deal that we can get for you. We've scouted around and they're actually willing to give us something to get your ass. And so, hey man. And then, so he has to keep on saying, not there, not there, not there, not there, because it very well may be the best deal that they could get. It's disappointing. It's disappointing because you might be a Jimmy Butler away from having a real shot at the title. You know what I mean? You walk into Oklahoma City with John Moran, Desmond Bain, Jimmy Butler, and Jaren Jackson. That's a different deal.
And Jay Huff just to round it out.
And Jay Huff.
And
I forgot. I so forget.
Yeah. Player that I loathe is a player that I love. I loathe him this week. And I just don't want a similar thing that happened with me and Joel Embiid to happen to me and this player, which is over time I start to realize what a dirty player they are, and I start getting mad at them.
Yep.
This is Lugens Dort, more popularly known as Lou Dort. He punched Daniel Gafford in the dick yesterday. He did.
Yeah,
he did. And you watch the slow-mo replay. There's just kind of nothing else that you can gather from it aside from that.
And then, like, I remember, look, Batum did this years ago in the Olympics, and you're a nard puncher, bro. That's what you
That's
are.
what you get labeled
what
as.
You are. You're a
Once
nard puncher.
Once you do it, you're that.
Nope. Dylan Brooks did it to Donovan
Mitchell. Brooks did it. Draymond's done it.
Yep.
It's a weird thing. No other sport that I'm aware of has had this last year in the offseason, 2 off seasons ago. They were like, we're going to focus on keeping our players from punching each other in the nards. Like they had to come out with like a rule change. Like, I don't know if FIFA has done this or Bundesliga or team handball. I don't know if any league has ever made a statement being like, we need to make sure that genitalia punching and grabbing is weeded out of our sport. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of sports.
I'd rather be clotheslined.
Well, the Lou Dort thing on Gafford was pretty gnarly yesterday. I think he deserved to be kicked out. And it's also a function of losing games. It's a losing team, a desperate team does stuff like that. And then I started going down a little bit of a rabbit hole of Lou Dort being dirty. Earlier in the game, he had an egregious flop with Kyrie, quote unquote, pushed him. Like, it was kind of a bad night for Lou Dort in terms of ethical basketball.
Thing that I loved, the video of the Pistons going to Buc-ee's. So, you ever been to a Buc-ee's?
For Northeastern elite like myself, please explain what Buc-ee's is. I have been to Buc-ee's because I've been on many road trips, many tours, but many sort of like on the road for months sort of things, which is a Buc-ee's. When you bump into a Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is like a combination of the greatest gas station you've ever been with the greatest gas station food you've ever had, and then like a quasi Walmart.
Yeah, and it's also like what's that store in the mall where they used to have like quirky teen stuff.
Spencer's.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Spencer's too, where it's just got like weird items.
Buc-ee's is amazing. I was so ready I was on a road trip and I was headed to Alabama and I saw an exit and it said Buc-ee's and I was like, I've never been there. And I was so ready to say Buc-ee's is overrated. If anything, it's underrated. And by the way, Jacoby, they are building one 20 minutes from my house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an afternoon with the kids. Take the kids, get in cars, go to Buc-ee's. That's 4 hours. That's 4 hours.
They have 100 million gas pumps. They have 100 million bathrooms that are always clean.
Snacks you've never seen. Food. Every snack you have seen. Nostalgic snacks you haven't seen for years. They've got everything.
There's never a line. And the mascot, Buc-ee, where they have the gopher-looking beaver, whatever the hell it is.
Don't call him a gopher. That is a goddamn beaver, Chris Vernon.
Hey, it's amazing. I have a Yeti with a Buc-ee on it. My kid has a T-shirt with a Buc-ee on it.
Oh,
we have a little plush Buc-ee. Oh,
this is a plush Buc-ee. A plushy Buc-ee?
A plushy Buc-ee.
Wow. I didn't realize how deep the Vernon roots were in the Buc-ee brand.
No, we've only been once, but we bought it all. And look, the Pistons loved it. They looked like an AAU team rolling up in there. You can go find the video, but them on their road trip, getting off the bus and going to Buc-ee's and then filming it and putting it out for the world to see was my favorite thing this week.
And let me just say that feeling, because being trapped in a car, like I said, I've been on a couple like tours where we drove from city to city, sometimes like 8 hours or 7 hours. It's kind of a drag. You kind of like work the night before, you wake up early, you go down to the hotel lobby, and you're just like looking at an 8-hour drive, and you drive for 3 hours, you've listened to all the goddamn songs, you've been in the same car with the same people for 3 weeks, you've had every conversation there is to ever have with these people, and you're getting bored. It's like hour 3.5, and you're hungry, and you're tired, and you still got 5 more hours on the road, and there is nothing like one car calling the other car and saying, do you guys want to stop at Buc-ee's? Hell yeah, we do. That you can feel the palpable excitement on the Pistons of just like, I get to get out of this car, I get to walk around, stretch my legs, get some food, get a shopping experience. It's honestly like being a kid and like walking up to the Magic Palace at Disneyland. It's the same thing being an adult who's been in a car for multiple hours going to Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's
Big
is
winner,
amazing.
Buc-ee's. I love Buc-ee's. Very quickly, the thing that I love is this surprising duo of Nikola Jokic and not Russell Westbrook. Earlier in the week, Russell Westbrook, Jokic said all he has to do is give Westbrook a nod, a look, and he knows what I'm thinking. And just last night, Westbrook said that Jokic is the best player on the planet, and he thanked him and the Nuggets franchise for sort of revitalizing his career. How could another duo between Jokic and an unsuspecting teammate trump that as the thing I love this week? Well, it started with former colleague and friend of mine, Michelle Beadle, Chandler Parsons, and Lou Williams, the Run It Back show, talking to DeAndre Jordan, current front court teammate of Nikola Jokic.
Peyton Watson is our locker room DJ. So anytime Nikola requests a song, if it's not like Serbian folk music, it is Mini Man by 50 Cent, and he knows the words from start to finish.
So then after the game, the TNT guys asked Jokic if he would perform Many Men if he knew the words. He said he needed to practice. And then 50 Cent tweeted this. Look, if he says he's going to perform, we going to perform. I'll back him up. We will have the spot jumping. LOL. 50 Cent, Nikola Jokic, duet, Many Men performance soon come. That is the thing I love this week.
The thing that I loathe this week is myself.
What?
Because I have talked to Jesse and the powers that be, and I'm trying to get Monday's podcast deleted.
Why? Because Eric Collins didn't come on the show?
Eric Collins did not come on the show.
Did he deny your request?
They said he couldn't do it because he did not fly in with the team. He was having to fly commercial the day of. Therefore, he couldn't make it in time. So I accept that.
That's fine. It's a hard thing to lie about, so that's fine.
It's a hard thing to lie about, and I accept it. I accept
acceptable.
it. I don't
Mr.
take
Collins,
it as a person.
It's
I don't
a
take it as a
standing
personal
invite
affront.
to come on the Chris Vernon show.
Correct.
Next time
Yep.
you're in Memphis, feel
Next
free.
year. You come once
Next
a year.
Next
All
year.
right. So we things that we believe, right? On Monday.
Yeah.
And, look, I can't very well pat myself on the back when I tell you, hey, Cooper Flagg's living up to the hype, and then he breaks the ACC freshman scoring record the next day.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great, right?
It was the same day.
I had the beliefs. And then, so I had SGA is going to be a unanimous MVP, and everybody's going to be tired of Nikola Jokic, and he's already won 3. And then SGA had 54 points in the week, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, look, this is easier than ever. Except for the fact this son of a bitch has 5 triple-doubles in a row, including a 35, 22, and 17, or whatever the hell it was. I'm like, okay. And one dickhead didn't vote Ichiro into the Hall of Fame, backing up there's always one dickhead.
There's always one dickhead. There's always one. Especially in the media.
That one went to hell in the handbasket. I said the Celtics were fine, and they got beat by 20 on national TV by the
During
Lakers.
Rivals Week.
Yeah, it was an absolute disaster for me because I had these things that I believed. I was like, all right. Oh, by the way, do you remember what my third one was?
No, I don't listen to you.
It's the worst of them.
Oh, God, let me try to think.
I still have a chance at SGA being unanimous.
No chance.
I still have a chance of the Celtics being fine. I still do, even though this has been an admittedly bad week. The third one is the worst one.
What do you got?
The third one was that the only team that could break up the East top 4 is Orlando.
Oh, God.
And they lose every night.
I just had to burp on that one.
It's been a disaster. Honestly.
That is, you know what? I don't believe in you anymore.
I want to delete Tuesday's show.
And Eric Collins didn't come on the show.
It's been a tough week. Been a bad week.
The thing I loathe is something that's been bothering me for years, to be honest with you. For years. And it was it occurred again during a sit down with Shams Charania, and it's with Anthony Davis, and here's what he had to say.
What more can be done with this roster? Are you satisfied with the roster? Do you feel like you guys need some more here?
I think we need another big. I feel like I've always been at my best when I've been the 4. And having the big out there, we know it worked when we won the championship with JaVale and Dwight. I'm at the 5 and I'm at the 4.
I'm so tired of this from Anthony Davis. I'm so tired of Anthony Davis being like, I'm a 4, I need a 5. And there is, like, I'm not going to completely discredit it as a sort of like a basketball strategy, because it does hold some water in that regard. But the idea that he is constantly saying, I'm not a 5. You're 7 feet tall. You're one of the best rim protectors in the game. You're not a great shooter. Like, why aren't you a center? And again, this has been proven time and time again. That bubble championship that they won, 60% of the time he was on the floor in the playoffs, he was the center. The majority of the time during the playoffs, when they won the championship that he just referenced, he was the biggest man on the floor for the Lakers, 60% of the time. And he had a great finals that year too. I understand what he's trying to say. He's saying, I would have a much easier regular season if there was a goon that could cover the other team's biggest player, so I wouldn't have to do the dirty work. I wouldn't have to contest all the shots. I wouldn't have to bang against the bigs. I wouldn't have to box people out as much. I wouldn't have to rebound as much. It would be easier for me if the Lakers would bring in a center. But I don't think that that's going to solve any of the Lakers' problems, especially with the centers that are available. And I am so tired of this narrative from Anthony Davis that he's not a center. Bro, you're 7 feet tall. You're a center in the National Basketball Association. Just get over it. That's the thing I love this week.
The next time that you and I record, it is going to be after we have both been in attendance together at the
So
Knicks
excited
versus
about
the
this.
Grizzlies.
I'm so excited about this.
Knicks Grizzlies is Monday night in Madison Square Garden. I'm going to fly up this weekend, and I will be there with Jacoby in person to watch both of our teams battle it out in Madison Square Garden on Monday night, and then we'll record on Tuesday morning so you can hear what
So a
what the
couple things
experience was
about
like.
this. First of all, I'm most excited that we're both bringing our wives. It's going to be amazing. Little double date night. Go to dinner first. And I sent you a text, and I was like, oh, it's a Monday. Like, Monday night in the Garden gets kind of sleepy. And what was your response?
Not when John Morant's there.
John Morant will wake him up.
Don't worry.
And I also feel like it's going to be a good game.
Hope so.
I feel like it's going to be a good game. I feel like
Hope
there's
so.
going to be some good. There's going to be some. There's a little bit of like a Spider-Man meme thing between like Cat and Triple J, where like it's kind of like Cat's kind of like I am who you want to be, and Triple J's kind of like I am who you want to be. And I feel like there's a little bit of that between Ja and Brunson. There's gonna be some interesting things going on that floor, and I'll predict this too. I think you're right. I think Ja is going to have a moment, a dunk, a play, a highlight, a something that's just going to wake everybody up and sort of re-energize the Garden. I think it's going to be a close game too, and I'm so glad that we're going to be there together to talk about it.
We'll be recording right after that game. Thank you to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez, as always, and Jacoby. I will talk to you. I will see you
this week.